Good morning, good morning, good morning, Politics and Grits with Kevin Peterson, Aziza Robinson. Good night. Good to be here this morning, a cold, frigid morning in Boston as we anticipate a snowstorm. But we're here this morning to celebrate and in some respects to mourn and to celebrate the life, the legacy of Bill Owens, first black senator to be elected to the Massachusetts Senate. He passed away this past Saturday. Many of us remember him as extremely kind. As I tweeted and posted on social media this week, he was a man of brains, a man of integrity, a man of faith. We're going to talk about his legacy today. We've asked some of his friends and colleagues and some who worked with him while he was in office, but also while he was in his post-senatorial days, working around men's health care and other things. He cut a large swath of as I said, integrity and political acumen and a sense of well-being within the context of our community, the black community. His accomplishments, they're so numerous, we won't be able to get through them today. There'll be some times as we continue to reflect on this legacy, to talk about the things that he did as he was senator over a number of iterations, elected and then out of office and then re-elected back into the Senate. Roxbury Community College stands as one of his legacies. Some folks call that Boston's historically black university or college, RCC. That place would not be there on Columbus Avenue without former Senator Bill Owens. We're so happy to mourn and celebrate his life this morning, and there will be funeral services arranged fairly soon and made public, and we look forward to that event and engaging with those who work with Senator Bill Owens. We miss him dearly. I had the opportunity over the last few months to visit him at the nursing home over the summer and into the fall. He allowed me to do some recording, some taping of him as he talked about his life in Boston and his life before Boston. Born in Demopolis, Alabama. Many people didn't know that he was an Alabama or a country boy, as we like to say, but came to Boston and almost immediately at 14, 15, tried to get a job. Told me jokingly that he faked his age in order to get a job. As a 14 or 15-year-old, and we're so happy to talk about his life before Boston and after Boston. The other thing he mentioned, Senator Owens mentioned that he was in Demopolis. He was a member of Reverend Dr. Ralph Abernathy's church. Some people may recognize that name. Reverend Ralph Abernathy was a colleague of Dr. King, a colleague, associate. Senator Owens was part of that church, and Ralph Abernathy asked Senator Owens at 12 years old to be the superintendent of Sunday school, Ralph Abernathy. And I asked Ralph Abernathy why. I asked Senator Owens why Ralph Abernathy asked him to be a leader in the church at such a young age, and he said he thought that Ralph Abernathy saw his leadership at 12 years old, and indeed that's true. Dr. Ralph Abernathy saw his leadership, and Senator Owens' life was really a legacy of leadership from then on, traveling all over the globe about influencing issues connected to justice. One issue that shines out above others, though, is Senator Owens' push for reparations first elected official in office to file a bill pushing for reparations in this country. He did it while he was a senator in Massachusetts, and the issue was not so much about getting money, but about achieving justice and equality. It's not so much about engaging around this whole equity sharing, but it's about addressing the past. And I'm so glad to have had many conversations and have been guided, and I remain guided by Senator Owens around this reparations issue. And he's encouraged the New Democracy Coalition and myself to continue to push around Faneuil Hall. That's a reparations issue. He's continued to push around filing legislation. We're pushing reparations legislation in the Boston City Council. Just 2 years ago, we've had Senator Nick Collins. We hope that he calls in this morning. He and State Rep Liz Miranda filed on our behalf, Senator Owens' behalf, a Truth and Reconciliation Commission on the state level. We hope that we can get back to refiling that bill in memory of the legacy of Senator Owens, because his life was about inclusion and fairness and reparation. We have a young woman on the phone who works with me, Aziza Robinson Goodnight, who oversees New Democracy Coalition's Boston Reparations Project. Want to talk to her a little bit about what she's doing and want to get an update from her in the backdrop, in the context of Senator Owens. Aziza, can you tell us a little bit about what's happening on the reparations scene in Boston? Good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning, and I also want to share my grace and condolences to Senator Owens transitioning off of this planet. Mm-hmm. But with that, it gives me even more push and drive to do the work here that needs to be done in Boston. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So. Sorry. What was the question?
So as you push around the issues around, as you think about Senator Owens this morning, the push that you're making is around reparations. Let's help define or frame what's happening in Boston in terms of reparations. There is a push. There's some activity on the city council. Can you tell us about what has happened and what you anticipate in the months to come around reparations? Please.
Yes. So through the City Council, there already has been a hearing. October 26th of 2021, there was a hearing that happened that was hosted by Councilor Mejia and Councilor Bach in partnership with the Boston NAACP, New Democracy Coalition, King Boston, and Yvette Monestein. That happened October 26th, and that is really exciting. I know there has been some other meetings and pushes towards the next hearing. We haven't heard anything publicly what that means. New Democracy Coalition is no longer invited to be a part of that process. We're sad about that, but we're still committed to making sure that we're organizing on the ground and sharing the work of others and what people are doing here locally, nationally, and internationally. We know that the Urban League is hosting a forum around reparations coming up pretty soon as well. So it is really good that people are actually taking this thing seriously.
Yeah, there's a lot of energy around the push. New Democracy Coalition 3 years ago, and this was connected to a series of meetings that Senator Owens was involved in, along with Professors Jimidari Kamara and Cuff Ferguson at UMass Boston and Professor Tony Vandermeer, about this push 3 years ago. We began the push, and 2 years ago, the New Democracy Coalition called out the City Council and Mayor Walsh at the time, saying we need discussions around reparations, and that's coming forward. One of the things that you've been emphasizing around this issue is an issue related to apology as it's connected to reparations. Can you talk about that for for a minute. The lines are full, so we're gonna wrap up this, and we want people to come on, and because they want to talk about their connection to Senator Owens. But talk about apology a little bit. Is that important? Apology?
Oh my goodness, how important is that? It's extremely important.
Mm-hmm.
That is extremely important. Like you can't expect somebody to really repair something without acknowledging they did something.
Mm-hmm.
So like, the acknowledgement of an apology for harm, injury, or crimes committed to us are necessary.
And we're talking about an apology, an official apology from the city of Boston around its complicity with the slave trade.
With the thing, yes,
that's important.
You know, and the effects of it.
Uh-huh.
So we know that the slave trade happened, but there are effects and still effects
in 2022.
Yes, and for it to stop, somebody has to acknowledge that there is.
Now, your naysayer will say, how can you prove that in 2022 there is negative impacts around slavery in 1638? 3 black men, we don't know their names, brought to Boston, enslaved. They're the first that have been noted in the city. How do you prove that there's a connection between those 3 black unknown slaves or enslaved and what's happening on the ground in 2022 in Boston, in Grove Hall or Rochester, right?
Or just talk about the wealth gap. That is proof. Talk about what redlining did to us and why we are in the place that we're at.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about the fact that we have a wealth gap and our city continuously let developers build in Roxbury, which was our mainstay for black people, and you have black individuals, especially in my generation, who can't even afford to live in the city. So, and you could talk about Faneuil Hall. Like, Boston is extremely complicit in perpetuating the affect of the slave trade, and with acting like it's not happening. So there's so many things we can point out, and I'm sure that multiple people on the call can talk about it because it hasn't stopped.
It's Politics and Grits with Kevin Peterson, Aziza Robinson. Good night. We're talking about the legacy of Senator Bill Owens, who is the national father of reparations, of black reparations.
The Godfather, Kevin.
Or the Godfather. We make those distinctions. We're going to take some calls. Aziza, you're going to hang around, but there's a call on the line. I don't know who it is, but identify yourself and what's your comment?
Good morning there, Kevin. This is Attorney Joseph Feaster.
Good morning, Attorney Feaster.
Good morning, and thank you for inviting me to come on. First and foremost, I want to extend my condolences to the Owens family. For sure, the senator served well, and I was reflecting back to the time because I was a law student at Northeastern when the senatorial district was created, and in '75 when the senator became the first black senator. So, there's a historical point for me because I was there at that particular time. Yes, can you hear?
Yeah, I can hear you now, yes.
Okay. As I was stating, I was there at the time when he served, and certainly supportive of what the senator's stance on reparations. And I oftentimes say, give me my 40 acres, you can keep the mule, because I don't have anything I can do with a mule, so therefore give me 41 acres. But I definitely have always been a staunch believer and a supporter that reparations is appropriate.
Joe, what do you remember personally about Bill Owens? Was there any personal encounter that sort of stands out, marked in your mind?
Well, first and foremost, I always found the senator to be one you can agree or disagree, but he would not be disagreeable. There was, again, since I was around from the inception, he served as a state rep and then was successful in being the first senator for that newly created senatorial district, which was later served by Senator Wilkerson and
Bowling.
also by
Bowling Senior.
Senator Bowling.
Yes.
um, and I was around with the creation of Samba and the work that he did around RCC. So, I mean, for me, for historical perspective, is that the senator stood for and articulated and fought for those things that he believed in. And like I said, whether you agree to disagree, he wasn't disagreeable. And I can remember being on panels with the senator at various events. I know we did a few with the Urban League, and I heard Aziza mention, and good morning, Aziza, mention about that the Urban League is getting ready to do a panel on that. And as you know, I'm chairman of the board there. So, working along with you, Kevin, as we have, I mean, if anyone I can say who's following in the footsteps of what the late Senator Bill Owens has done, it is you. I've known you for many, many years, and you are one too that fights for what you believe in, no matter whether it's popular or not. And I've always appreciated that about you as well.
Joe Feaster, one of our stars in the city. I appreciate that, Joe. We're going to move on. The lines are full, and people are texting and saying the lines are busy.
To be on the front end, so thank you. Have a blessed day. And again, note my condolences to the Owens family. Please.
Thank you, and we'll talk to you soon. We're going to go to the next caller immediately. Good morning. What's your name and what are your thoughts? Good morning. Caller?
Hello.
Hello. Yes, I can hear you.
This is Richard Taylor calling.
Richard,
how are you all this morning?
We're doing well. Thanks for calling in. You knew Senator Owens over the years.
And I'm delighted to follow in the footsteps of my very, very close friend and fraternity brother, Attorney Joseph Feaster, who we share much together, but also with Senator Owens. I think I start with the notion that in many ways he represents that great migration narrative, the latter years of it, coming from Demopolis and starting his own business and working hard, going to school, getting elected in the State House. I was reminded earlier of a photo of July 1, 1980, when he stood out in front of the State House with then Mayor Kevin White, urging then Governor Ed King to sign a $30 million appropriation to construct Roxbury Community College. I was reminded of another photo with him standing out with many people, Wayne Budd, Royal Bowling Jr., and others, in City Hall the day after Ted Landsmark was hit with that flag.
Yes, an iconic photo,
Yeah, but on a personal note, he was handsome, he was a sharp dresser.
Yes.
He was articulate, he was forceful, but he was always mild-mannered. I think Joe was alluding to that. He had an easy air about him. You could always talk to Senator Owens. And so I really appreciated that. And also, by the way, I mentioned Representative Doris Bunty was also in that photo.
Yes.
And as Joe mentioned, RCC, the State Office of Minority Business. But also, he grew. He went over to Africa several times.
That's right.
And much in his later years, he wore the African regalia and really projected his African ancestry, and as you have mentioned, his relationship and forcefulness for reparations. But he also, when you mention the Owens family, you got to mention Representative Shirley Owens Hicks,
his sister,
who came to politics on the school committee, and reminds us of how much we missed an elected school committee. And then, of course, she defeated Royal Bowling Jr. to go in the State House. And so the Owens bowling families are just iconic families. They were political rivals, but they were also close. There was no animosity there. When I found out that the Senate had passed, I texted some folks, and they said, "Oh, let me make sure Royal knows. Does Royal know?" And so you have to think about that too. So quite a legacy. I share my condolences as well to the family, but they have much to be proud of, as we do.
What will we miss, from your in your opinion? What will we miss about him most?
He was always in the fight.
In the fight.
And as I think about today, Senator Owens also knew how to get a deal done. And with all of the funds that we have now, the infrastructure money, the ARPA money,
yes,
and other funds that are coming to the State House, he would be having a field day.
He would be in the middle of it, wouldn't he?
He'd be in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And you could be rest assured, he was a bacon guy. A lot of people are public policy. Bacon meaning back in the old days, how much money are you bringing back?
Yeah, how much are you bringing back? Was not a show horse, but a workhorse, and brought stuff.
He was a bacon man. That's
yeah,
right.
yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
We need that again. We need the person who can bring that back to our communities back. We need that.
Richard Taylor, you are one of the godfathers of politics, of black politics in the city. Thank you for calling and chiming in. The lines are packed, and people are.
Thank you for having us.
So we'll talk soon.
Enjoy your program.
And we'll see you soon. Appreciate your call. We are reflecting on the legacy. Aziza Robinson, good night, and I'm Kevin Peterson. This is Politics and Grace, reflecting on the legacy of Bill Owens, and we're just going to keep the calls coming in. We'll go to the next call. Good morning. What's your name and what's your thoughts around the late, great Senator Bill Owens? Good morning. Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Hello?
Yes, good morning.
Oh, good morning.
Good
I
morning.
didn't realize I was up next.
Okay.
This is Jim Collins.
Rep Collins. Good morning. Former Rep Collins. Good morning.
Well,
you worked on Beacon Hill as part of the larger legislature with Senator Owens in the 70s. That's correct?
that's correct.
What was your experience with him?
Well, it was clear that the senator was the leader of a very active band of black legislators. I served at the time. I sat next to former and the late Representative Bob Forts.
Yes.
We served in the same committee, and it also was the office that housed at the time temporarily the Legislative Black Caucus, which was led at the time by Betty Robinson and and your co-host Barry Lawton on occasion. So and having served with Bill was he was certainly a figure that the representatives at the time looked up to for leadership. There was Representative Mel King at the time, Royal Bowling Jr.,
yes,
Sandra Graham, Doris Bunty, and they were always buzzing around the State House trying to get legislation through that was meaningful to their constituents. And Richard Taylor had mentioned Roxbury Community College.
Yes.
After serving in the legislature, I went to work for then Governor Ed King, and he did sign that legislation. And as you know, there's an upgrade being to the college that's underway or soon to be underway. So it's the timing of his death coincides with the seems to me with the not only the upgrading of the facility, but the importance of community colleges to the city of Boston.
Was former rep, was there any professional encounter with Senator Owens that strikes you even now? As you reflect on?
When he wanted to vote, he would make a visit to you. He'd call you up and say, "Can we speak?" He didn't. He was very engaging with legislators, both those that served his particular district, but those who he thought he could count on for a vote on particular matters. So if he wouldn't just leave it to Royal Bowling or Bob Forts to make the ask, he would personalize it.
Thank you so much.
That was an important way to do business, and hopefully the legislators nowadays behave in the same way, and I'm sure they do. And then, by the way, I also, having had that relationship, I had the distinction, if you will, of standing beside Royal Bowling and Bill Owens when they endorsed my son, Senator Nick Collins. So it came full circle, the relationship.
Yeah. Former State Representative Jim Collins, thank you for calling in. The lines are busy.
Okay.
We'll circle back and as we continue to reflect on Senator Owens' life. Thank you very much for the call.
Invitation.
You're welcome. Jamal Crawford, you're on the line. Good morning. How are you, sir?
Good morning. I'm well.
Yes,
I just want to, get on the record, a couple of things here with Senator Owens.
Yes,
so,
sir.
one, a lot of people don't know, too. He was a heck of a singer, too.
He was,
singer,
yes. I did hear him.
Singer, songwriter.
That's right.
He put out some albums. Yeah, and in fact, several years ago during the Trump presidency, he called me up and had me running around crazy trying to help him with a song he had on his brain.
I remember that.
Called Bully.
That's
about
right.
Trump. Bully, bully.
Well, it was good.
So,
yeah.
It was, so these type of things, folks also don't know that thing. Now, for me, my grandmother was a tap dancer and boom, on all the clubs running the Chitlin circuit from Boston to Canada, down south, whatever. When he first got here, he also had knew my grandmother as a young man. So my grandmother, Winnie Brown, and he was like, he told me about this whole routine she used to do and all that, and so those family memories. So it's not even like I knew him; he knew my grandmama before my mother and father even met.
Wow!
Right? Wow. Then he knew my mother. All this type of lived on my mama's street. The Hazleton, Mattapan.
Okay.
Yeah, now you got me telling my mama street on the doggone radio. But listen, I will kill anybody that goes there. Listen, so but him, and then there was also another very good black family. First black man that taught me chess and blah blah blah. Paul Chin, his wife Barbara Ware. Barbara Ware was one of the women that worked for Senator Owens back in the day. So I'm saying the legacy. And then the last thing I'm gonna say on this reparations thing. Because I traveled with him. We went to New York to go meet national leaders and so on and so forth. So the one thing is not so much the reparations, but how he was connected to the national movement. So yes, it was new here in Boston, but he was connected to all them people who was already doing it. And then the continuation of that is, if y'all remember, in 2004 when he did the National Black Agenda, right? The National Black Agenda Convention, which was a continuation of what had happened in Gary, Indiana in 1972, the National Black Political Convention. And I would encourage all these folks who have so many well wishes, fond memories of Senator Owens, go on YouTube, look up the National Black Agenda Convention. There's a lot of stuff still up there, and you will see him in his finest, convening, organizing, bringing people together, and good man. He even took, a young man such as myself, and he's one of the most prominent mentors I have, and I'm a beneficiary. Like what y'all said, he helped make RCC. Well, guess what? When RCC was getting built, I worked at RCC as a young man on the construction thing, and then the next year went to RCC, and then a year ago graduated from RCC, and that is, due to the work of Senator Owens and others who even made that whole thing a possibility. So, anything of my black radical revolutionary thing here in Boston, that man has a lot to do with it, and was a supporter, and I love that man like an uncle. You dig?
Thank you, Jamal. One of our prominent actors. Appreciate your reflections. We're gonna
move on. The lines remain busy. Who's it? City Councilor Charles Yancey. Good morning. Good morning. How are you, sir?
Oh, good morning, Councilor Yancey.
We're doing very well. Listen, first of all, I want to extend my heartfelt condolences and sympathies to Shirley and Roberta and the rest of the Owens family for allowing us to partake of the brilliance of Senator Bill Owens. He and I go back to the 70s, and I'm really enjoying your program this morning, Kevin. Hearing the likes of Jamal and
Richard Taylor and Joe Feaster and
even yourself,
Jim Collins, and
Jim
I can go on and on and on. But
and yourself, you're enjoying reflecting.
well, yes, my first real experience
Yeah.
in the Massachusetts State House was as a result of some work that Bill Owens was doing back in the early 70s. And when he was a state rep, and later when he was elected to the Senate, he put together a commission to look at issues impacting the Second Suffolk Senatorial District, and I was part of that commission. And he astounded me one day during one of those meetings. He read a letter that I wrote to him about the need to ensure that we have a level playing field in the State House, and that every dollar spent in the State House has to be examined to ensure that people of color, African Americans specifically, receive their fair share of the contracts and the jobs emanating from those public dollars. And I was taken aback that he would publicly read a letter I wrote to him. It wasn't necessarily in confidence, but it just gave me an idea of how significant people in our community are, and the importance he placed upon economic equity in the city, in the state, and in the country. I also was reminded when Jamal was speaking that I attended many of those conferences back in the 70s, specifically the one in 1976 in Cincinnati, where we had a black political convention. And at that convention, we were looking at running a black candidate for president of the United States. What a novel idea. And we were meeting with Ron Dellums.
Yes.
And we also, of course, had discussions with Jesse Jackson at the time. This is many years before he decided to run for president. As you know, Jesse Jackson ran for president twice, 1984 and 1988. Well, a lot of the impetus for those campaigns came out of the black political conventions that were held initially in Gary, Indiana, and later in Cincinnati, Ohio, other places in the 80s and 1984. But I got a lot of my political grounding from Bill Owens. When he even had a community organization, I think it was called Operation Jesse. That might not be the exact name, but long before he was elected to the House of Representatives, he was a community activist.
What part of his personality stood out to you most, as an individual or as a politician? His charisma.
Yeah, he really had presence, and I think it was Jamal talking about how well he sang. Well, he also danced at various parties as well.
Wow.
He was the life of the party in many ways.
Is that right?
But his charisma, his undying love for people really stood out, and he was very unapologetic about it. He's a strong man who never gave up on the community. I mean, he never left the community, as you know.
That's right.
And as recently, 10 years ago, just as an example, he was one of the organizers of one of many marches I participated with him. You know, when we traveled to Washington, almost on an annual basis, we had demonstrations calling for justice for African Americans. But 10 years ago, he was one of the leaders of the Fathers Against Murder against the murder epidemic, where he called upon black men on Father's Day to march through the streets of Roxbury and Dorchester, condemning the violence that was attacking our community. And we spoke on the steps of Ella Collins' home, where Malcolm X grew up
on Dale Street in Roxbury,
and called upon the community to come together and accept not just responsibility, but to take action to deal with the rampant violence that plagued our community, and basically called upon us to take control of our community, which was very consistent with his efforts when he was an elected official. It was very consistent with his efforts even calling for reparations and for an African American to become president of the United States. And he, just like people are somewhat dismissive of the whole conversation or idea of reparations, back in 1976, they were very dismissive of the idea of a black man or a black person ever becoming president of the United States. And this was long before Barack Obama even considered running for president, as far as I know.
He was indeed.
And I believe that Bill Owens did sow the seeds for the sense of black empowerment.
Yes.
That's with us to this day.
Yeah. And he remains with us until this day as part of our vision, our personality, our effort. Former City Councilor Charles Yancey, thank you so much. We're going to move on. We could talk to you for so long, but the lines are busy.
Well,
we're getting texts. Thank you so much.
We will miss Bill Owens, and we still treasure Shirley Owens Hicks for all her work.
Yes.
That she's done.
Absolutely. Thank you. We'll talk to you soon. Okay. This is Politics and Grits with Kevin Peterson and Aziza Robinson. Good night. Aziza, did you ever have any contacts, significant or insignificant, with Senator Owens? I'm sure you did. Do you recall any of them?
No, I didn't.
Yeah. Well, he touched you in ways you probably, I'm sure you realize, particularly as you work around the reparations issue. Aziza, we're just going to keep.
My mom worked at RCC. I actually teach a mural class at RCC, so I am touched by his legacy.
Absolutely.
And I'm a Black Bostonian, so there's probably even more that I even know. But I'm forever indebted to his legacy in pushing the reparations.
The lines continue to read. We're going to go to the next caller. I believe is Dicko. Dicko, good morning. How are you?
And first and foremost, I would like to say that I never met Bill Owens, so I can't say anything about the man or someone I never met. Now, your guest, your female host, earlier said about apology. My question is, what is an apology when it's not even sincere? Because anybody can say, I'm sorry, without having some real meaning behind it. Also, do you think that since Boston wants to be this self-appointed leader for the rest of the world, minus the country to follow, then how come from Michelle Wu all the way up to the soon-to-be out of ex-governor Charlie Baker isn't really pushing for reparations? And also, I heard reparations over and over and over since it has been put on the table since at the post-Civil War. Nothing has been done. Anybody can talk about it. So when are we, as African Americans, are going to finally see reparations in our lifetime? Because it's the same old, huh? And I'm tired of it. Huh?
Well,
we are seeing it in our lifetime. So Evanston, Illinois, is the first municipality to actually receive reparations. So we're seeing it. They have opened the door for us. An apology is extremely necessary. If somebody punches you in the face or hits your child and comes back and takes you to go get it fixed without acknowledging they did it to you, it's extremely important. And we are here. African Americans, we are here. Evanston is our start. But it's not our start. We have many before us that have done this work, like Senator Owens.
Yeah.
But Evanston, Illinois, the first municipality to receive reparations, right now is giving out that money to their elders. They started with their elders, so we're here. So I want you to feel
an apology is part of that process. Thank you, Dicko, for the call. We still got so many people who are trying to get on. Former UMass Chancellor Keith Motley is trying to get on. State Rep Nika Elgardo, she's trying to get on. So we're just going to keep moving through these calls. We got about another 20 minutes, 15 minutes or so. Larry Ellison, good morning. How you doing?
Good morning, Kevin. First,
thank you for
doing this.
Thank you for calling
this morning, and my condolences to the Owens family. I know you have a lot of folks. I'm going to agree. You know, Senator Owens, in my time as president of Mamley, really helped shape where we are today, as far as being a force to be reckoned with. And it's sad to say, you know, the leaders like the Bill Owens and stuff are up in age or have passed on. You know, Billy Sylvester, Minister Don, Sarah and Shaw, those folks.
Yes.
So I think how we honor them,
is important.
How we honor them is this way, Kevin. I'll leave it with this.
Yes.
We have to continue to elect leaders and not opportunists to replace folks such as that.
Amen.
Thank you for allowing me this opportunity this morning.
Thank you, Larry. I appreciate it. Former president of Mamleo, police officer, the host of the Mamleo Morning Show on Saturday. Thank you for your comment. We're going to keep coming. We got a call from overseas.
Wait, Kevin, I want to repeat that.
Yes.
We must not elect any more opportunists, and
Absolutely.
That continues to keep happening. All skin folk and kinfolk, if they're not moving an agenda for us, then we need to be serious about making sure we're elected officials that have done the work already,
and people who
that we've seen them the work,
and people who follow in the vision and spirit of Bill Owens. We have a call from overseas, from Nigeria. Peter, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, my friend Kevin. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for calling. You had your encounters with Senator Owens over the years. You're calling from Nigeria, and he had a relationship with Nigeria, as someone alluded to earlier.
Absolutely, he had. He was the premier mover relative to reparations we're talking about, and was able to hook on to a very powerful Nigerian, late M.K. Abiola, the wealthiest Nigerian at the time, who was really interested in the whole process of reparation, which is in vogue right now all over the country, except Massachusetts, the way I understand it. And I'm calling essentially to commiserate with Bostonians, people of Dorchester, Roxbury, Mattapan, for the sad loss of this great man, friend and brother, Bill Owens. Kevin, I met Bill Owens just about the time we met, when he was active in the Senate. What a wonderful man he was. Always smiling, always hospitable, always desirous of meeting people and listening to what you have to say, and seeing to what he could do to maybe bring about solution or ameliorate whatever situation we were faced with. Was a great man. You know, once he sees you, he calls you by his first name, by your first name, and he smiles. His smile, lights up the place. And wonderful guy.
No, he had wonderful energy, and as you mentioned, his presence reached across the globe into Africa. He celebrated all of humanity. Peter, we're going to keep moving. Thank you for your calls. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you very much.
We'll stay in touch. For those who are trying to get in, please. Thank you, Peter. For those who are trying to get in, please continue to try to get in. We have Minister Culpepper. Minister Culpepper, good morning. Thank you for calling. How are you?
Blessed. Good morning, Kevin.
Good morning. Thank you for calling. Reflect with us a little bit your relationship with Senator Owens. What did he mean to you? What did he mean to the community?
Senator Owens to me was a mentor, a big brother, an advisor, one that always, even until last year, encouraged me to stay involved in the community and community building.
Yes.
Bill Owens was a fighter. He fought for the community, stood for what was right. And the amazing thing in that area of politics, there was real community. And when I say real community, I mean folks supported one another, folks encouraged one another, folks made sure everyone succeeded. As one failed, we all failed. As one succeeded, we all succeeded.
Yeah.
Bill Owens brought me into politics in a great way, showed me a lot of different ways of being involved in campaigning, and he was a statesman. It's amazing. I'm getting calls from all over the country about Bill Owens.
You are, yeah.
And how connected Bill was, not just in Boston, but he was connected all over the country. And so when we think about Bill Owens, we think about someone that loved his community, talked a lot about how we got where we are. And Bill was ahead of his time because he talked about wealth inequality and how we got where we are. And that's what he meant when he talked about reparations. He was talking about wealth inequality.
That's right.
And so we celebrate Bill Owens and we lift up Senator Owens.
And I specifically asked you to call in Pastor Culpepper, Pleasant Hill Baptist Church, because as I was visiting Senator Owens over the summer and particularly the summer around reparations. Around redistricting. He mentioned you a number of times, and I told him that you were in the fight, that you were contributing around the redistricting conversation. But I asked you to call because Senator Owens made an explicit connection between the black church and civic engagement and politics. You fall in that vein also. How important was that message of connecting the black church with community life?
It was critical. Critical. In fact, when I think about politics and I look at politicians and I look at the church, even though some folks say the church shouldn't be involved in politics, the church is one of the most political forces we have. And it's the church that makes the difference in many of these elections. You notice folks wait till September, they run right to the church to help get out the vote. Bill Owens understood that. Not only did he understand that, he had, my grandfather was pastor of Pleasant Hill. He had a great relationship with my pastor, and Bill came right to the pastors because he knew that the pastors understood the significance of the vote.
He did, yeah. So important.
I talked to Bill all summer. We were talking all summer. And as we get older, our health deteriorates. But Bill still remembered much of what we did. It wasn't as if he didn't remember a lot of what we did. He still remembered and was still in for the fight as much as he could be. And so I'll always cherish what Bill taught me, how he watched over me and how he encouraged me. So we, again, celebrate the life of one well-lived.
We celebrate his life. We celebrate his life. Pastor Culpepper, thank you. We're trying to get a couple more calls in before we end. We do have that. Thank you so much. We do have Senator Owens' song, his most recent song. We're going to play that as we conclude this program this morning at 9. But we have a couple more calls, and some people are still trying to get in. Thank you so much, Pastor
Let me just
Culpepper.
say this, Kevin, that Bill Owens was faithful over a few things.
Yes.
I know the Lord said to Bill Owens, well done,
my good and faithful
my good and faithful servant.
Thank you, Pastor Culpepper. We appreciate it.
God bless you.
You take care. Thank you for calling. This is Politics and Grits with Kevin Peterson, Aziza Robinson. Good night. We're reflecting and celebrating the legacy and the life of Senator Bill Owens. That will come formally pretty soon with services, and his family will be leading that. But we thought it would be it's appropriate to talk about Bill Owens is within the context of this radio show and within the context of community leadership. We've got another caller on the line. I'm not sure who it is, but you hear me. Why don't you announce yourself, and we'll take your comments for about a minute or so. Good morning, caller. Good morning.
Good morning, Reverend It's City Councilor at Large Ruthie Louisiane. How are you?
Ruthie, City Councilor, good morning. What's your thoughts this morning?
I'm just calling in to pay my respects to the late, great Senator Bill Owens for the path that he blazed for everyone, not only elected, but his constituents and the people he served. So just my hats off to his legacy and hoping that his soul is at peace and that we carry on the torch of his work when it comes to fighting for housing, when it comes to the reparative work that he talked about and cared about. That's the legacy, and that's our responsibility to continue his work.
Thank you so much. Well, his work is coming. His work is coming to you over at the City Council as we continue this work around reparations. Aziza, you were trying to get in.
Yeah, I want to say, we want to hope and we wish and we pray that you push forward in the legacy of making sure that Black Boston can stay here as well in your new role.
Amen. Yep.
Boston.
That's the work. Already talking to my city councilors about it. We were all distraught at his passing. I think I've been on here when the senator was on once.
Yes.
And his commitment to his people and to our community is the work that we got to do collectively, right?
Yes.
Making sure that the work is not about us as individuals, but about our community, and that's what I'm about. And I stand in the giant footsteps that he's left.
And Councilor, we have to push for this issue around apology. Other cities, as it's connected to reparations, other cities have seen apology as an important step and towards getting to the real substantive conversations around reparations, repair. So we want to continue to engage you and other members of the Boston City Council to think about the healing of our city in terms of race within the context of apology and then repair and then reconciliation. Thank you. Good morning. Thank you so much for your contributions. We only tried to squeeze in another call. Thank you. We're reflecting on Bill Owens, Senator Owens, and first black senator of Massachusetts. Caller, I don't know your name, but you hear me, so good morning, and what's your contribution? Good morning, caller. Can you hear me?
Good morning.
Good
My
morning.
name is Asia
Good morning.
Jackson. I'm from Boston. I definitely want to give thanks to Bill Owens for everything he's done for Black Americans all over the country, especially in Boston. Pushing forward is definitely something we all must do. We all must try to get things passed so that we can have the reparations needed in all of our communities across America. He started the legacy. Let's push it forward. Let's continue to put people in office that will represent us and continue to move us forward as a Black community. I also want to say he's helped us in moving forward with our reparations campaign with Aziza Robinson. Good night. I'm happy that she's on the call now, and she's moving forward with the campaign and pushing for reparations.
Thank you so much, Asia. We're pretty much at a point where we need to wrap up. We have we were going to end the show on a different note, but we have the recording. A recording made just a few years ago. Jamal Crawford mentioned it's coming on. It's coming on now, and we're going to let this play out. But this is former Senator Bill Owens. We rejoice and celebrate in his legacy. Listen to this political critique of Donald Trump from the late great Senator Bill Owens.
Go to jail and do a little time. Got to go to jail and do a little time.
If the press attacked him first, you got to realize. But his supporters, he had to hypnotize.
Got to go to jail and do a little time. Got to go to jail and do a little time.
All the AG very, very weak. He ought to go somewhere and stop those silly tweets.
Got to go to jail to go to jail and do a little time.
He takes from the poor, gives to the rich. No health care, they throw them in the ditch.
Got to go to jail and do a little time. Got to go to jail and do a little time.
No compassion, tell lies. People need to be hospitalized.